Another lecture and another science.
We're sorry for the litter that you... Oh, sorry, that's mine.
And another lecture hall.
I want to talk about an actor by the name of Roderick Cushion. Now, if you listen to popular thinking, you'd think, now there's a guy who's given up on his craft. There's an actor that would literally do anything for the next paycheck. And sure, I can see how you could think that. But you'd be completely missing the point. When Roderick Cushion decides to do yet another truly terrible film, he's making a statement about the nature of commercial cinema. Thank you, Mr. Cushion, for fighting the good fight.
Staff are reminded to be inspirational.
I meant to have a look while I was up and I forgot. Gonna give it a rim.
There's a fly in here.
Yeah, it's washing a lot of it away, but there's like flakes that will get trapped. I'm hot.
I'm miserable.
I know you are. Do notice you.
I'm not miserable, I'm just depressed. Told you it's just everything against me. And even though you say, yeah, but you can't let it, it does. There's only so much the human mind can take before it says, this is fucking miserable.
Yeah, I know. I can't say anything because I suffer it myself, so it's kind of fucking stupid for me to say stuff like that, but I suppose the things that are out of your control, out of your control.
If it's not on your CV, it didn't happen. Not to me.
Need to take that down and put it back in the roof. Don't think we'll be needing it again now.
I don't know. Might have another 40-degree heat wave.
I somehow doubt it.
End of year is approaching. It's too late to start trying.
We've got a music review for you now. Over to Maggie, who's been to see the Boogie Nights.
That's right. I went to the Boogie Nights concert and it was great. The lights, the dancing, and so on. If you like music, this really was music. I do think the campus could do with some better signage, though. I mean, I almost missed the concert, and this segment could have been a real train wreck if that had happened.
Excuse me.
Tuition fees are expensive, and education is priceless. The summer is a good time to relax and prepare for next year. Enjoy your summer. I know I will. End of year results are now available. No unauthorized panicking. Welcome, new students. We're more afraid of you than you are of us. Now taking students for funny business. Welcome to the start of a new year. I'll be your host. Hello.
Clean your whiskers and grab your briefcase because Cat Court is in session. This season, it's all litigation and litter trays. The Bureaucrats. New episode every week on Bundle Pictures.
Visitors should be checked in and then removed immediately. reminded that dogs don't eat homework. Frequently asked questions. No, I will not be your friend.
You know, I think the Orb Foundation gets far too much criticism. Sure, there's some dodgy information about how they're funded, and they do talk a lot about the Orb being the perfect shape. I can't be the only one sick of those adverts. But really, what are they, if not a group of people coming together to appreciate some beauty in this world? Personally, I think we could all learn a little something from them.
Students are reminded to have the time of their lives.
Screech! Thank you.
Skills are non-transferable. The administrator is reminded to stay hydrated. Students are reminded that some grades are personal. Distracted students should pretend that they're listening. Announcement. The campus just got bigger. Not necessarily better. Staff are reminded to care about students.
Enough, Mac.
Now that's easy listening.
Enough.
Sound of 2 Point County on 2 Point Radio. You're listening to 2 Point Radio, the place your ears call home. We've got a barnstorming show for you today, but before we kick down the door and go straight for the valuables, soak in some sonic excellence. Play that track and we'll be right back.
The campus has opened a new building. Good for us.
Give it a rest, Mac. Fuck's sake, boy.
University gives you a bright future and clouds it with debt. revise, the longer you've been revising.
In the news today, I seem to have sat on something sharp. We're not sure exactly what it is or what the consequences might be, but we'll update you as soon as we know more.
Can you see it? Look at that. Is it in me? Tell me it's not in me.
Tuition fees may be spent on administrative bonuses. This is a test announcement, not a real announcement. Students are asked not to ask questions.
Wouldn't you know, I'd sat on a sprig of holly from yesterday's lunch. That's the risk you run when adding a little pizzazz to your meal. But that won't stop me. It's not the first piece of holly I've sat on, and it certainly won't be the last.
Frequently asked questions. No, you can't have an extension. Education is non-refundable. Campus has opened a new building. Good for us.
At Bungle, we know what young people want in a motor vehicle. Independence. Fun. Wheels. Beaver from Bungle. The car that puts the E in freedom.
Announcement. Hitting the books doesn't mean what you think it means. Frequently asked questions. Yes, we are testing you.
Martin Lewis, he was on Good Morning Britain on Friday, and he was saying about this increase in price caps and stuff like that, and you could see he was actually like almost tearing up.
Really?
He was really struggling. He just said, he says, I really just don't know what to say to anybody anymore. He says, like I've said before, he says, I'm all out of ideas. He says, there's nothing I can tell you anymore.
No, your chicken should not
can
be
help.
pink.
He says, I'm getting swamped with people that are frightened. He says, they are literally writing to me, they are frightened, they are terrified. He says, this price cap, he says, what people the government are not understanding is it's gone up to the 3,500 and something. He says, that's average. That's an average. He says, there'll be people that use less than that, and there'll be people that use more than that.
Yeah.
He says, the thing you've got to take into account, he says, a lot of these vulnerable people that use equipment for their disabled family members, stuff like that, like whether it's fucking electric beds or all that kind of stuff. He says they use
2 Point
way
Radio,
more
the station
than
that puts the
the
stabilizers on the
3,000
bike of
way
your
more than
day.
the 3,000
It's Ricky
or something.
Hawthorne.
Yeah, and what are they going to do?
Exactly.
Anyone
He
got
says,
time? No?
He says we're in a
They
vortex
told
of
me I'd
chaos.
regret putting
He says,
sundials in the
literally, we are now
booth.
in a
There
vortex
aren't
of
even any
chaos, and we
windows,
are
they
getting no
said.
answers from
Oh, how
anybody
we
because the
laughed.
government are absolute disgrace.
More timeless
Saying
radio.
the fact that
After
we're in a
this
zombie
silky little
government right
number.
now and nobody's doing anything. He says he's absolutely a national
Doctor,
disgrace.
return to the
He says
hospital.
this
Thank you.
kind of thing needs attention now, not waiting for a new Prime Minister to come in. This is something that should be getting sorted now. He says, but even if they come, he says, he says, I'm not going to come up with the ideas and say that we should do this, we should do that. He says,
Thing is, it's not his job to.
he says the government are the ones that have got to come up with a plan, and he says, and it's got to be serious, and he says, and it's going to involve a lot of money. He says, the simple answer, people cannot pay this kind of money. He says, it's like they say, if your electricity and gas bill is like 10% or more of your monthly expenditure, then you're in fuel poverty. And Ryland was saying, he says, and I cannot believe that people of like wages of 50 grand or more are now in fuel poverty. He says, that can't be right. He says, how
But
is
it
that even
is.
possible?
It is
If
because
you hear this,
they've made
please
it
drink some
right.
water.
How
Thank you.
in this day and age of our government allowing this to happen? He says, nothing. He says it just doesn't make any sense. And he says, no matter how much you talk about it, he says you feel like you're arguing with yourself. He says, but he says, what do the people do? He says, if you can't pay it, you can't pay it. He says, speak to your energy companies. He says, speak to citizens' advice. He says, but he says the answers they're coming up with. He says people are being told about, well, if you can't afford it, we'll have to look at putting you on a prepay meter. He says, how ridiculous. He says, oh what, so put people on a prepay meter?
And then when their money runs out, they're without
Well,
electricity and
He
gas.
says, and then people are going to be sitting with no energy at all. He says, you've got to put the money on. He says, and then the prepay meters are more expensive. He says, so you're basically telling people that effectively you can't pay for your bills, well, we'll move you to a prepay meter.
Students are reminded that there's no
And then
such
if you run out
thing
of
as
money because
free
you can't
time.
pay it, then you're just going to have to sit in the fucking dark and freeze to death.
Yeah, it's basically tough shit.
And that could end up happening to us. Because if we can't afford to pay the huge bills, we're going to have no choice. And he says, but the logistics of it, he says, they can't do it. He says, do you realise? He says, if they're telling, he says, they're already telling customers this. He says, try and get through to them in the first place is impossible. He says, honestly,
Yeah.
he says, you ring your energy companies up right now. He says, they are so swamped. He says, you can't even get through. He says, any of them. He says, they are absolutely getting hammered by customers who are terrified. They're telling them they're scared. They don't know what to do. And
Chef
it just
Ricky
says,
here,
but
bringing
if
you
there's
a
hundreds of
morsel
thousands,
of
if
the
not
day.
millions,
We all like
that
a
can't afford
boiled
to pay
egg,
their
but
bills.
wouldn't you love one on the
He
go?
says, you can't
Just
move all of them
imagine
onto a
you're stuck
prepay
in
meter.
traffic
He says, do you not
and
understand the
bang,
logistics
a
of
boiled
that?
egg.
And the
just for
cost
you.
of it.
Yeah.
You see, eggs
He says
have a
it's just
casing
he
or
says you can't
shell
even do it.
that's
He says it's
perfect for keeping the
impossible.
eggs safe.
Thing is, the
Right,
cost of
I've
it
got
alone, you
2
might as well
boiled
just
eggs
pay
in
our
my
bills
pocket
for
right
us.
now. Give it a try.
It just said, honestly, he says, I have no answers. He says, I don't know what to look at. He says, and his wife
Your
commented,
food is
he said,
cold
and he
because
actually
the
said,
oven
look, he
wasn't
says, I don't want to give customers even more bad news, but he says, I'm sorry, but I don't have a choice in this. He says, your bills are going up to more than 5 grand in January. He says, it's almost 100% now confirmed. He says, without a doubt. And he says, and it's going to get worse. He says, Germany are creaking. He says, they are literally creaking. He said, because their energy from Russia has been cut to 20%. He says, they are literally creaking. He says,
What does that mean?
Basically, they're now telling customers, people in Germany now, that they're going to have to be rationed with their energy during the winter periods because they haven't got enough. Because Russia's cut it all. And he says, and the problem is that's going to have a knock-on effect around the world. He says, because literally at the moment, he says, Germany are trying to suck up as much of the gas as they can from anywhere around the world to try and get them through winter. He says,
Maintenance
because they are in a
announcement.
serious
Plants need
shit
water.
creek.
Remember?
Well, obviously he didn't say that, but he said, yeah. He said because Russia's cut their energy to only 20%. He says that. He says it's not just a UK problem. He says it is worldwide. And he says, but if anyone was worse, he says it's probably Germany right now. But he says even their bills are not as high as ours. But he says, yeah, he says they're trying to get up as much energy as they can so that they can survive. He says they're telling customers we're going to be rationing energy during the winter. They're going to be looking at blackouts, rolling blackouts and things like that.
What is a rolling... Hang on, let me turn this broadcast off because I'm talking to you.